Welcome to Damn Fine TV. I'm your host, Jay, and I'm here with another mini review, this time for Strange Darling. I'm going to say it right up front. It might not be a mini review, it might just be a solo review. I have a lot to say about this film. I will be as non spoilery as possible up front, and then I'm going to dive all the way in. So I will give a warning in the video as well as in the description for the video, so you will be well covered for that. I'll tell you right up front. I highly, highly, highly recommend getting out to the cinema to see this one and try to avoid all trailers, all spoilers, try to go in without knowing anything. That's usually the way I like to approach a film, but I think especially for this, it's just such a wild and beautiful ride that I think knowing nothing about it will really reward the first time watch. And I'm seriously telling you, run, don't walk to go see this. Like, this is the one for me, anyways. One caveat, there are some fairly intense scenes of a sexual nature. I personally don't think it's anything gratuitous or excessive. I don't think it comes across as, yeah, excessive or like gross or anything. It works well within the story, but it's there. So if it's not your thing, that's a heads up. Okay, you guys, this is my favorite horror of 2024 so far. And it's easily a top 10 film for me. I was genuinely blown away by Strange Darling, and I truly left the theater thinking, this is why I like horror. This movie is an example of, I mean, why I like storytelling, I guess, in general, especially visual storytelling, but like this movie gave me so much of what I want out of a horror film. You can really tell just how much love and care and thought went into making this film, from the story to the direction, cinematography, the acting, the score, and the soundtrack. This is a single artist soundtrack, and something that I really enjoyed was how the music really felt like part of the landscape. It was part of the atmosphere. But there's one exception where a song really does stand out, but it's for damn good reason, and it really adds some layers to a bit of character development. It was really well used, and it's like unique in a way that I can't really talk about, but just super well used. There is a real flair to Strange Darling. It has a style that feels very singular. I'm sure that there are other films and other filmmakers that it could easily be compared to, but I think it and while I think those comparisons are fair, I think it's doing its own thing and making a mark for itself in the style that it is using. It feels really smart and like eloquent in a way, but it's very unpretentious. I've seen some criticisms that say this movie is up its own ass, and I'm just like, I don't see it. I don't get it. I thought it was just very self-aware enough, but also like, hey, we want to make a piece of art and this is what we're doing. Yeah, I don't get the vibe of like gatekeeping or like there was an effort to make it inaccessible. It just felt like the people making it really have a particular style and wanted to make a particular type of art. To me, everything was so tight and well thought out. It was captivating, it's intense. I mean, honestly, until the very last frame. I was in this film's clutches from the first shot until the credits rolled. It's got a few twistedly funny moments. It really makes you think. It is an edge of your seat type movie, and it like starts in high gear. And then it will play around with the pacing a little bit, or it does play around with the pacing, but the sort of mystery of everything that's constantly percolating throughout every scene keeps the thrill factor really high. So even when there's like these quieter or slower moments, there's still this tension, bubbling underneath everything. It's gonna sound hyperbolic and I don't really care, but truly for me, Strange Darling is a masterpiece. I mean, it's simply unmistakable how much the people making this film just wanted to make something special and something that would really stick with you. It looks absolutely phenomenal. There are moments where I feel as though I am in the movie, like I am transported into the world. The colors are so rich and warm and vibrant. There's a texture to everything that just hits all the right buttons for me. Strange Darling was filmed all on 35 millimeter, and I'm not going to pretend like I know a ton about that, but I do know that that's not really a thing that's done so often anymore. There are certain filmmakers that are real sticklers and only want to shoot their films this way, but things are mostly shot on digital these days. And so this is a filmmaking feat, I would say. And even though I likely saw it through a digital projector, I'd be lying if I didn't say if I said I didn't see the difference, because you can just tell again from the textures, the colors, the sort of like composition of the shot. And I know that you can sort of like mimic that with digital, but you just can't do what was done here on digital. There's a real seductive glow to everything. The reds, the blues, the greens, everything just really envelops you. It's gorgeous. The storytelling to me is genius. I won't say that it's never been done before. I've definitely seen similar approaches to crafting a narrative, but it's certainly not the common way to tell a story. And I think it was done in a way that really does set itself apart from other narratives that you might be able to compare it to. There are a few twists, and depending on how much you know going in, how much you're kind of looking for it as you're watching, you know, it might be really obvious to you, or you might feel like you get the rug like pulled out from under you. But I think it nevertheless does a really good job playing with expectations and emotions. Like, I absolutely adore how much this movie played with me. It toyed with me. I would start to settle into a certain, pacing or vibe, and then it would promptly jolt me right out of that and propel me somewhere else. I mean, truly, we get down to the final few minutes of the movie, and there's this reveal that had me thinking, like, wait, what the fuck? Holy shit. And it's just a small piece of info, and that's enough because, like, it's not, this reveal is not really the focus of the film, but it so efficiently adds this whole other rich layer of context and meaning that I think will be awesome to see on a rewatch. And the performances, wow. I mean, okay, we spend most of our time with Willa Fitzgerald and Kyle Gallner, and they have really great chemistry. I mean, Willa is definitely the true standout for me. I think she's so compelling. I think she's electric. I think she's grown so much since the Scream TV series, and she's certainly given something with much more depth to work with here. But she brings these choices to certain scenes, to certain lines of dialogue or particular movements that she makes that feel very lived in, very genuine, very believable. Kyle is good as well. He's very hard to read, and I do think that that's purposeful and it is used to good effect for the story. He's just he's just not as good as Willa for me. I think that's all I can say without spoiling it, so I'm going to send out the warning now. Incoming spoilers for Strange Darling in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Spoilers. The Electric Lady. I'm kind of obsessed with the fact that they tell us at the beginning that this is all based on a true story. From everything that I can find, it's not, though I'm sure it's inspired by many true stories. It's probably an amalgamation of different serial killers out there. I always feel conflicted watching the true stories of serial killers. There's something that just never quite sits right with me. But knowing that these things really did happen get under your skin, at least for me, in a much different way than watching something completely fictional. So I kind of love that they played me at the beginning and told me it was real, because I was like, I was immediately more scared because I was like, well, fuck, this could really happen. Which I guess I could go into any horror film thinking that, but the fact that the filmmakers told me that, I think just like added a different layer for me. Anyways, I think just, yeah, getting our heads into that mental space is just a really good tactic. It's toying with you right from the beginning, the same way that the Electric Lady toys with her victims. It's brilliant. Okay, before we go any further, I'm going to address the thing that I think is causing the most divide between people who have seen this, at least from what I've seen on Reddit, which I know, why did I go there? Why did I go there? But I think it's worth addressing. So I think some people, I mean, I know I've seen that some people are taking issue with the fact that the lady plays the victim and insinuates that the demon, Kyle Gallner, has raped her or at least attempted to rape her. Um, you know, that this will somehow prop up the narrative that some incredibly misogynistic and horrible people, how they believe that women lie about rape and sexual assault, that somehow this film is supporting that narrative. Now, am I worried that some people will walk away with the message that women lie? Of course I am. The same way that I'm worried that people without any critical thinking skills will walk away from many horror films with the completely wrong idea about what's okay and what's not. And I know, like, on the other hand, that I believe in things like representation is important. I think that what we say in art can have an impact on people. But I guess I'm also really tired of narratives that have women as the villains or as the evil characters being put under such deeper, more intense scrutiny than the ones where the men are evil. And it's like, do you see the issue with that? Do you see the very inherent problem with doing that? There's always a risk that people are going to run away or come away from a film with the wrong message, not just in horror, by the way. Like, there are plenty of romantic comedies out there that are propelling or propping up a misogynistic narrative. Okay. The bottom line for me is that the lady is a serial killer. So, what do we expect? Did we expect that she was just going to, throw out her survival skill and like not make a play to gain some sympathy or figure a way out of this messy situation? She's doing everything she can to survive. Now, if I had to guess, if I had to make just a crazy wild guess, I would say that in 100% of the real life cases, these women aren't serial killers and they're not lying about their sexual assault. Done. Done. And it is really not lost on me that, again, a movie with a female serial killer, a female villain, is just under more scrutiny than the 8 billion movies with men as the killers. Jay from the future coming at you, or I guess still from the past. It doesn't matter. I'm still from the past, but I'm from a more recent past. And I don't know why that made it spooky, but in my head it did. Anyways, after I recorded this, I got to thinking about the cops that show up at the farmhouse. Okay, so we have two cops. We have a female presenting cop, a male presenting cop. The female presenting cop immediately shows compassion, humanity, is trusting of the lady. The male presenting cop, not so trusting of the situation at hand, wants to follow protocol. Uh, is there some kind of messaging in here from the filmmakers about what response they think is the correct one? Because only one of these cops survives the story, and it's the female presenting cop. So, is there a message in there? I mean, I'll say this, I'm choosing to read it as showing compassion, showing humanity, and saying kind of fuck it to your job. Maybe there's also a kind of a fuck cops vibe, but I think I am getting the message that having compassion, having humanity, trusting women is the right course of action to take. Also potentially problematic, the fact that the male presenting cop does call his partner a fucking bitch or a fucking cunt or something like that. Um, but is that just showing the toxicity of masculinity? Okay, I wanted to add that. I thought it was worth noting. I would still love to hear what your takes are, so let me know in the comments. And that'll be it from Jay from the more recent past. And, the other criticism of like, oh, she's just crazy and that's why she's doing this. Sure. I mean, we've seen a billion movies like that with men, so why not? Okay, addressed. But I do think that there is this like sense that the twist of making the actual murderer the woman is meant to be some kind of big like gotcha. Oh my God, you see, women can be evil too, see? And it's like, I don't know if that's really what they were going for. If they were going for that, I guess I'm giving them much more credit because the twist really did work for me, but because of the narrative structure surrounding it, I wouldn't say it's the most shocking thing. I think like looking back, there are definitely clues, and I think most people who watch a lot of horror films probably could have figured it out. But I'm working with what's being presented, and then when the narrative flips itself, I'm recalibrating and I'm seeing things through a different lens. It's really not the most shocking twist. That comes later. But I'm not like rethinking my view of society and gender roles because of it. I don't think it's that wild to consider that women can be as dangerous as men, you know? We do know that that's not, the overwhelming truth based on history. But, just like how it's not all men, not all women, Like, anyways, the story structure that is framing all of this, the reason that there is kind of this twist is because of the way that it's presented. It's a non-linear story structure and it's told in chapters. Now, this isn't new. I'm quickly reminded of Kill Bill and the way that its chapters are told out of order. And this is a very perhaps specific button for me, but I remain one of Kill Bill's biggest fans, even though I'm not huge on Quentin Tarantino and I don't really like action films all that much. But the storytelling structure of Kill Bill to me is just so engaging and compelling. I feel like stories that choose to tell themselves in these nonlinear ways or in these differently structured ways, they ask more of you as the viewer. They ask you to be engaged. They ask you to be paying attention. They don't want to reward passive viewing. You're watching this and you're watching this, and that's it. It's not a two-screen experience. Just pay attention to the story that's in front of you. I like that. So, you know, I love the way that a nonlinear story structure challenges a viewer. I love how it can manipulate you in the best of ways. Of course, it can be used as a very cheap trick that winds up feeling confusing and like a chore for audiences to get through. Westworld, I am looking at you. But when it's done right, it can really elevate a story. It can really set a story apart. And I also feel like containing a story like this within very clear chapters that are then told out of order is actually such a genius approach. There's an anchor, there's a tether that helps you kind of keep everything clear and understandable, while the out of order structure injects just enough chaos and uncertainty that it really keeps you on your toes. And this movie toyed with me, it toyed with my emotions. Like I said, the same way the lady toys with her victims. Even knowing the truth of everything, I still kind of feel an attachment to the lady. And I'm so curious how I'll feel on a rewatch because for a large part of this film, I am deeply worried for her. I feel this visceral need to help her somehow. I feel like sick a little to my stomach thinking about the kind of dangerous and violent things that can happen to mostly women when meeting mostly men on like dating apps and things like that, or at a bar or whatever. And I know that this can be reversed. That's not shocking. It can absolutely be reversed because killers are humans and like humans have bad instincts sometimes. Like it just is what it is. Anyways, I'm not going to go back to that. But the whole thing is so chilling. It's terrifying. The sequence where we don't know yet that they have consented to this very intense sexual encounter, I'm nearly moved to tears with fear for this woman. And that fear largely stays with me alongside, hand in hand with the logical part of my brain that says the lady is the one to be feared. Like I'm scared for her and I'm scared of her at the same time. And I think it's pretty awesome that a film can make me feel that conflicted. And I'm even more intrigued when the lady drops the fact that she sees demons. This is the last minute reveal where I'm like, what? This movie fucking rules. Like, okay, is this the reason for her killings? Does she think she's doing a service to humanity? What caused her to see these demons? And how does she feel when she sees the demon in her reflection? there's so many questions in the final moments of the film, and that feels very impressive to me. And again, right down to the last moment as we watch the lady bleed out and die. My God, the performance here from Willa is incredible. It's incredible. I'm scared for her again, all over again. I'm scared for her because death is scary, and the way her facial expressions keep trying to pull sympathy from the person sitting across from her is amazing. And the color fading as the lady dies, I mean, come on. It's another one of those things that asks you to be an active participant in the film because it's like showing you things are winding down. We're getting ready to end this thing. The color is draining from this film. It's so good. And to get a little bit deeper on the color choice for the film, those blue lit scenes where the lady and the demon are getting to know each other is so interesting to me because blue can be very calming. And I think that the color is used really nicely to sort of lull us into this slower paced scene after the high intensity of the opening sequence, but it also feels somewhat melancholy. Like there's just a tinge of sadness that comes through. And maybe I feel that sadness in retrospect, just kind of knowing the whole story. Maybe in the moment it was more of like a vulnerability, but there's a sadness to this whole encounter, even though it is heating up a little bit between the two of them. It is a little bit cute. I don't think it's inviting, but it is like I'm enjoying sort of being in the back seat of this conversation. And it is, like I said, calming, but there's something that's just like, oh, this is a little sad for these two. And then the reds, my goodness, the reds, the washroom scenes are so striking. I mean, it's clear that the red is unsettling and provocative. It's danger, it's excitement, it's intensity, it's rage. I love the use of those two colors. And then like the green of the forest is so lush and abundant. And a lot of this film takes place during the day. And this is another very specific button for me because it's so easy to do a movie in the dark. The dark is scary. It has shadows. It has the unknown. Killers can hide in the shadows, but you can also hide as the victim. And when there's nowhere to hide because it's full on fucking daylight, that is terrifying. That adds a different layer of scare for me. So I love a horror movie set during the day. And the use of sunlight was really nice in certain scenes too, like when the lady is running through the woods and she lights a cigarette and the smoke just kind of catches on this like beam of sunlight. It's gorgeous. Oh my God, it's just like so atmospheric and it's really it helps with the contrast, I think, of that lush, beautiful, fertile forest and what she has to do to her ear to sort of like clean the wound. Ooh, that's like it's just such a good contrast. In general, I liked everybody in this film. I don't think there was a bad apple in the bunch. The old biker hippies were definitely a bit of light and brightness. Like it really offered us, their scenes really offered us a brief yet needed chance to catch our breath. And then when they're taken out of the equation, it happens in a way that really keeps the thrill ride nature of this movie propelling forward. Like I said, Kyle Gallner is good. Like he's good. He's fine. Whatever. He doesn't take away from the film or anything, but he just doesn't jump off the screen in the same way that Willa does. Um, those unreadable moments, I think, are used to really great effect, especially when the film isn't quite ready to show its full hand. But I mean, Willa for me is the clear standout. She's so good as a villain. And we did see a little bit of that come through in the House of Usher TV series, but it's turned all the way up to 11. I know that means cheesy. That's not what I mean. But it's turned all the way up in Strange Darling. And I think she's able to bring a lot of sympathy to this character and almost like a bit of heartache as well. uh Look, she's manipulative, she's unfeeling, she's selfish. Oh my goodness, she's selfish. And yet I truly believe when she says, like, I truly believe her when she says that she sees these demons and that is a burden that she carries with her. And maybe that's where some of that sadness comes from with the blue tinted scene. There's just this like heaviness that this character is carrying, and Kyle's character is carrying it as well because he is going through a divorce, as we learn, right? So they're coming with their own baggage. Maybe that's what I was feeling in the blue scene. Anyways, so you know, I think she is carrying that burden, and I think we do feel it. And I think when she sees the demon reflected back at her in the car's like side mirror, I think she feels relief. I think she was about to kill herself. Um, it's just that the woman who picked her up off the street got got the chance to first, you know? So I'm not rooting for the lady. I don't want to see her alive at the end of the film. I want, her victims' families to get the closure that they deserve. But I feel for her. I can see her humanity underneath all the evil. I mean, killers in horror films don't always need to inspire sympathy, but that messy feeling that a nuanced villain can leave you with is usually much more memorable. And so, back to that criticism of like, oh, so this girl is crazy and that's why she's doing what she's doing. No, I think the film gives you everything you need in that, like, final moment reveal that she's been seeing these demons. I mean, for me, that was huge. Okay. I feel like I could go on and on and on and on, but I should stop there. I have told Mel's to watch this. I know she's going to love it. So hopefully we will do a full length, full on review with both of us at some point. Let me know in the comments if you've seen Strange Darling and what you thought about it. Is this your kind of film? Do you like the nonlinear storytelling? Did it hit all the buttons for you like it hit for me? Let me know. Maybe you hated it. That's okay. To each their own. All good. Weigh in on what you think about the like more controversial aspects of the film. Would love to hear a different point of view that is not the, madness of Reddit. So, okay. Thank you everybody for watching. I'll be right back.